Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on February 16th, 2016. And, this week's Impact, I thought was pretty good, and it did a good job of setting up what they wanted for next week, which was the lockdown show, which used to be their pay-per-view. Used to be their June pay-per-view for the longest time. But now they're going to be doing it in February this weekend. Obviously, that's the aspect of the show. Everything's inside the 6 sides of steel and everything like that. And they did a relatively good job setting up everything to make it to where each match that you're seeing, all with the exception of one, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But they did a pretty good job this week of setting up everything and making it feel like that each of these matches need to be inside the 6 sides of steel. We'll obviously I'll just be going through that throughout this time. The brawl and what they've been doing with Bram and Eric Young, with Bobby Roode and James Storm, this again was just another good way of setting up going into their tag match the next week for a 6 sides of steel match. I thought they did a really good job. I liked the brawl throughout the entire arena, throughout the entire night. I thought that was a good idea of where they were going with things. So the aspect that the match itself ended in a double countout was fine, on the aspect that they went with a storyline base off of it in the end. The match with Michael Bennett and Manderson was it was an alright match. Again, they're trying to build up Michael Bennett as much as possible, and they're building him into a storyline with Drew Galloway, which is interesting that they're not doing any kind of match for next week, though in all honesty at this point in the feud, it would not necessarily also make reference to needing a steel cage match in any way, shape, or form. So again, I think they're doing a pretty good job here with Michael Bennett, how they're doing promo time with Maria and Michael Bennett, and then adding Drew Galloway in there as well. Again, pretty good setup with what they're going with there, and it'll be interesting to see how they work that. If it's going to be like a briefcase on the line style match where Drew Galloway has to put up his briefcase against Michael Bennett, or what they're going to go with and here in the future with the two of them. It'll be interesting to see how they work that one. I liked what they did tonight. I thought they did a relatively good job. Matter of fact, for the most part, I felt like they did a relatively good job. Though the knockouts making a lethal lockdown match for the next week. Honestly, with everything that happened with Awesome Kong did not happen, with her getting fired and everything like that, I feel like there's a piece missing here. Like they need a fourth knockout with Velvet Sky, Madison Rayne, and Gail Kim, and then the Dollhouse, instead of having the 3-on-3 here. But with the aspect of Awesome Kong getting, ousted out and being fired for her for what happened backstage while at the UK tapings, probably hindered that, and they're going with the 3-on-3 route with Rebel, Jade, and Marty Bell going up against Gail Kim, Velvet Sky, and Madison Rayne, which you had Velvet Sky come in and make the save after Gail Kim and Madison Rayne were getting beaten down after they won the tag match tonight. Not a bad way of going. I feel like there's a little bit lacking going into this, but definitely with the way that how the Dollhouse has worked with the Beautiful People and with Gail Kim over the past year, like it warrants having the steel cage style match, because they've had them feuding for quite some time, and steel cage match is kind of a good way of potentially ending it if that's where they're going. If they're going to be ending it here, or they're going to be continuing on. So we'll see where they're going with everything in this aspect. Now, this brings me to the one point of the show that I feel like, and it made a match for the lockdown show as well, that I felt was the main lacking area. And this was the whole aspect of, well, first of all, remember Muhammad Ali Shira, where they were, before they left Destination America, they were making a pretty big deal out of this guy and trying to push him and try to build him for down the road. But they haven't done with anything with him since they've come over the Pop TV. Now he's back. And now he's teaming up, and I didn't want to talk about this last week because I knew I was going to get into it this week. We all know where they were going with this. The whole Odar the Great. We all knew it was going to be Grado. And let's just face it here. Let's just face it here in this case. I'm okay with the whole aspect of Grado being there and everything. I think they should have gone with the other storyline. The storyline that they were building. With this whole, that he has proof that Eli Drake did something, or, you know, maybe he should not have been the one that was fired from TNA Impact Wrestling in there. But this whole aspect that he has to put on a mask and go out there under a different name that's just his name spelled backwards, in that sense, I think it's just a bad way of going. I think they could have done so much more with the aspect that he kind of storms into the building and makes making these claims that he should not have been fired. Here's my proof and everything, trying to get some kind of meeting with Dixie Carter or a TNA official. Is like, hey, I've got proof. This is the proof saying I should not have been fired. I think that storyline could have worked, and then they could have done something into a match with him and Eli Drake or something like that. I think that storyline would have been a lot better of an idea than this whole aspect that now he's coming out there as Odang or Darg the Great, and going out there and, you know, getting with and trying to get one over on Eli Drake, which they had him do tonight, and which is the right thing. And then that set up a match between the two of them for the Lockdown show, which honestly, that feud does not warrant a steel cage match right now. Also, with the whole thing with Grado, like with his switch over and, you know, changing how they're spelling his name and everything like that, they don't even change his music. I mean, if you're gonna go for it, well, I mean, if you know you have something silly, which honestly they know they have something silly and probably really stupid here. At least they're going full out on it and not trying to hide it. I like the fact that the announcers weren't really hiding it throughout the entire time, and they're not doing it with the music either. So they're not trying to fully pull the wool over your eyes with this one, but I think they could have come up with a better storyline and a better way of doing it. And that's just my personal opinion on that side. The one aspect of it I liked. First of all, the reactions of Eli Drake. The reactions of him was like, what's going on? Why is this even happening? Why is this being allowed to happen? Aspect to it was really, really good. And I loved how Jesse Goddard's was just hamming it up with his laughter and everything. I thought that was a nice little touch there. It's like, you know, this is not really a very serious storyline, and there's a couple things to like about it, but I feel like they could have done a better job in building something up here. And honestly, I think at this point that's also a waste of Muhammad Shira, which they thought they think he has talent, and they were trying to build him as something, and now he's in here with Odar or Grado and the Eli Drake thing going on here. So I feel like that's kind of a waste of what they had been doing with him, though they hadn't been doing anything with him since they came to Pop, but they were trying to build him up as well going into the end of their time at Destination America. So, you know, I didn't really care for it all that much. There was a couple good points to it. And we'll see where they go with this whole Grado and Eli Drake thing. Here in the very near future, they're going to have a match next week with the lockdown show, and we'll see where they go with it. And I'm kind of hoping they change up this storyline to where it's like, hey, he's trying to get proof and everything like that, or he's trying to show the proof that, you know, Eli Drake, or not Eli Drake, but he shouldn't have been fired. Maybe it had something with Eli Drake swapping what was inside the cases and everything like that. And so we'll see where they go with it. But so far, not too impressed with that one. So this brings me up to what the main storyline of the night was, which is the EC3 Matt Hardy storyline. I like the aspect at the beginning of the show. You have EC3 and Dixie Carter, brief chat, everything, and setting up the aspect that they have the 6 Sides of Steel match for the TNA World Heavyweight title the next week. I like that aspect. I also like the promo at the beginning of the show with Matt Hardy, Tyrus, and EC3. I thought that was a good way of going, and they set up a quick tag match for the end of the night, which, again, a good way of going, at least in my own aspect here. They're trying to build this really fast, and they did a really good job of doing that this week. I liked the backstage promos with EC3 because, you know, they were going off of the aspect that, oh, EC3 will never be able to find a tag partner because he was such a jerk to everybody for the longest time. And I liked how they put EC3 in this situation now where he's like, you know what, I know what I've been, I know what I've done, and he knows where he needs to go right now. But I also like the promos with him kind of saying, you know, he needed to do this on his own, and he had a promo with Drew Galloway, who was trying to become his tag partner, and then Rockstar Spud, and him kind of saying, hey, I need to do this one on my own. And then the aspect, and I like the little bit that he put in there, which makes it even better for Rockstar Spud. And in the end, when he does come out and goes out there, he tells Rockstar Spud, it's like, you know, you try to watch out for other people too much, type area, which, you know, that's what his character kind of does. In some sense and form, he kind of always tries to do the right thing to the people that had been, to everyone who's like either his boss or something, or, you know, his friends or anything like that. I like that aspect to that character, and him and, you know, him not actually listening to EC3 and coming out there to become his tag partner later on, I thought was a good way of going. But here's the best aspect to it. The best aspect to this storyline right now is that with Rockstar Spud, Dixie Carter, EC3, you know, you're getting these aspects that, yes, they're working together and everything like that, but there's not been the actual reconciliation yet of what had happened in the past and everything like that. Like, you have Rockstar Spud's, like, acknowledge what, you know, their friendship was initially, and then, of course, where EC3 completely destroyed him and got rid of him there. You know, so you have the old acknowledgement of the friendship, and, you know, the quick, okay, I give a little bit of respect, and then Rockstar Spud after the match leaves. There, you don't get the handshake, you don't get the hug, you don't get the full-on reconciliation, and that's what I'm liking right now, is that, you know, EC3 is not actually reconciling with any of these guys. He's just kind of helping them right now because of what happened with him and Matt Hardy. And I think that's been the best thing about this so far, of making the EC3 character a face. He's not actually reconciling with any of these guys. He's just, you know, he's getting help when it's needed type area, and these are the people that are going to be helping him. I think they're going to go that route eventually, which it will be, you know, it'll be done right, where they do the reconciliation between, like, Rockstar Spud and him and Dixie and everything like that. Or maybe you get another type of heel turn down the road here from one of those people. So we'll see where they go with everything. But I thought this was a good way of going, and I liked how they've been working the storyline the entire way through so far. So, with that being said, you know, outside of the whole Grado Eli Drake thing, I felt this Impact was a relatively good one. It was good and entertaining. The whole, I'm almost forgetting about the Monsters Ball match, which was a good match. A good way of going with everything. I almost feel like Decay probably should have gone over in this case, but I don't think they're also fully sold on there. And then they had this weird backstage promo where you have Decay talking about everything, and then you have this unnamed person who's kind of bringing himself into the fray, and we don't have a full-on name for him yet, so we'll see where they go with everything there on that aspect. I've liked how they've kind of depicted Crazy Steve and Abyss and this whole decay thing with Rosemary in there. Let's see what this fourth person is. I think this is kind of a bad way of going into things for that, but we'll see where they go with it. Again, I felt like that maybe they should have had them go over in this case, but also in the end, I feel like they kind of rushed it as well with all the different hardcore matches that they were putting them in with this storyline. I feel like they could have slow burned this one a little bit more, but it is what it is in the end. And obviously the Wolves with the tag team titles back and everything like that now. But overall, good Monsters Ball match. I thought it was actually a fairly entertaining one. I just feel like storyline wise, they got to those gimmick matches way too quickly in that sense. And again, like I said, overall, this Impact was a very entertaining one. I didn't really care for the Grado Eli Drake stuff, and I wish they could have done a slower burn with the Decay and the Wolves storyline. And I mean, it's not saying that it's completely over with or anything, but we'll see where they're going. That like a Monsters Ball type match means that it's kind of over in that sense of everything. So we'll see if that actually continues. I think the Wolves go on to a different storyline, and we'll see where everything goes with Lockdown next week. And that is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling, and I thank you guys for watching.